Good evening, one and all. I welcome you all to the CME program this month. May I request our master trainer and mediator, Srimati Sushila Madam, to come on the dais. May I request our beloved Deputy Director to come on the dais. I welcome all the mediators of Gulbarga and Dharwad to this CME program. I also welcome all the registrars of Kalburgi bench of Honorable High Court of Karnataka and Gulbarga bench of Honorable High Court of Karnataka. I welcome one and all. May I request our Honorable Deputy Director to welcome Srimati Sushila Madam by presenting a bouquet. Srimati Sushila Madam needs no introduction. She is one of our very talented master trainer, and many a times by attending our programs we are benefited a lot. And may I request Srimati Sushila Madam to start this month's CME program. Thank you all.
Respected and dear all, happy Women's Day to each one of you. Congratulations to all women here. Thanks to men because of whom we are here. And I also expect thanks from men because but for us, women, they would not have been here in this earth. Before going to today's topic directly, let me share a small narrative. Once, there was a job interview going on. Applications were called for. It was for recruitment to military forces. On the field, they had to on the field someone had to work, they had to recruit such persons. So they had specified the qualifications, A, B, C, D. Fitness criterion was also there. Then several rounds of tests happened. The tests happened in their own local areas, and then final interview was at some other place. After interviewing several people, Rajmani came. When Rajmani came, the interviewers were surprised. They immediately looked at her credentials. Amazing, 2 to 3 lines her qualifications ran into. Then they looked at that Rajmani. Rajmani was a very well-dressed, well-built, beautiful woman. They suddenly found out the mistake they had committed. While calling for applications, they had not mentioned that the job is meant only for men, not for women. What do? They started looking at each other. They did not want to confess where they have gone wrong. They somehow felt that they should humiliate that person, Rajmani. Then they asked her, it was an oral vivavoci, what is the spelling of woman? This lady who has got qualifications running into 3 lines is asked a question, what is the spelling of woman? She said, W-O, man. D-O-U-B-L-E, double, Y-O-U-U, O-H-O, man, M-A-N. W-O-M-A-N, she said. And she walked out. When I say this, I'm very conscious of the fact that there is a gender sensitivity issue involved in this topic that we have taken today. Nevertheless, I would like to make a statement that woman always includes man. That's what I would like to say. About 10 days back, Hamsa called me and said, today we are going to celebrate this Women's Day, celebrations will be there. I requested to speak for about 10 minutes on a topic that is humor in mediation. I said, okay, 18 years of mediation life, and then somehow some instance will definitely be there. I can share 3 or 4 instances and 10 minutes will be over. Then suddenly director sends me this topic. In a way, when I looked at this topic, I thought whether we are creating a dichotomy between men and women mediators, number one. Mediators are mediators, be they men, women, or belonging to third gender also. That's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is to understand what exactly is the role of woman and then import that by men mediators also. Or if there is something good, other way around, we can get it imported here. This is what I thought. Considering all these aspects, I structured this session in a different way. My first endeavor here will be to speak something about role, what exactly role means, and then status, and then role conflict and role strain, and then get into the topic directly about the role of women mediators in mediation. This is how I have structured it. I have done my post-graduation in sociology. According to some settled principles, if you have to understand what exactly is role, in sociology, role means the behavior expected of an individual. Behavior expected of an individual who occupies a given social status or social position. We all occupy different positions and status. There is an expectation. If you are a teacher, this is the behavior I expect from you. If you are a student, I expect this. If you are a servant, I expect this behavior. If you are a master, I expect this. This is what it is. We have different statuses and positions. If we go a little deeper, role also refers to a set of expected behaviors, not just that, identified rights associated with that behavior. You expect something from me, and the moment I start playing that role, what happens is there is an identified right, and there are also compulsory obligations associated with that. For example, a mother's status. There are some identified obligations. There are some identified expected behaviors of a mother. If my child is crying, I have to look at the child. I have to breastfeed the child. This is the expected behavior. This is what we need to understand. And there are some identified rights also. I can shout on my daughter, but none of you can shout on my daughter. There are some expected behaviors, identified rights. As mediators, why should we know more about roles? Is one question that I put to myself. Role always defines how an individual has to work within a social context. Today there is a funeral, how I dress here is entirely different than if I attend a funeral in London. How I dress myself. If I have to attend a funeral in London, that's different. Today I don't even wash my face. Or if I put my face, if I come like that, suddenly I get a news that somebody has died, I have to go, I will wash my face, I'll remove my makeup and then I go there. In another social context, it is always different. So, the expected behaviors always depends upon the social context in which we surround ourselves. Roles always define what is the appropriate behavior that is expected from an individual. See, for example, 5 decades ago, we could not have imagined a husband to even touch a broomstick or wash his own undergarments. Today, we see men sweeping the house, my son or my son-in-law washing the inner garments of their partners or their spouses. Full time. That's where I am telling you, the role expectation always changes from one social context to another social context, number one. Number two, at different points of time, the expectations from different roles have always been changing. This also we need to understand. In one mediation, the role behavior expected of a woman mediator from an advocate is different. In another place, for example, you go to Mofussil place, you go to Delhi, there the expected behavior may be entirely different and their behaviors will also be different. We also have expectations. If we are mediators, we have the litigants sitting in front of us. We have, that is their status. Litigant status is there. The advocate for the plaintiff, it is his status. We have some role expectations from them also. These are all things that we need to understand. It is in this context, I would say, should you introduce your role to anybody? The question has got answer in itself. We don't need a badge. The way in which you walk, the way in which you speak, the way in which you sit should demonstrate that you are a mediator. Somebody is arguing. We can easily make out she is a trained mediator or he is a trained mediator who is arguing. Some judge is sitting there. We know that particular judge is trained in mediation. That's why that is expected behavior is entirely different and demonstrated behavior is also different. When you understand your role very well, what happens is the status gets reflected on its own. You need not have to introduce yourself. Those of you who are interested in reading philosophy can read about Shvetaketu. If you read about Shvetaketu, you will know how to get yourself merged and see to it that your intrinsic worth in the role that you have been playing, how can you get it increased day by day. Now, having said all these things about role, let me take you to understanding the concept of role conflict. Within every status, there will be different roles. Within every status, there will be different roles. Different statuses, different roles will also be there. Different statuses, different roles. One set, 4 roles. Another status, different roles like this. For example, I am a lawyer. This is one status. I am also a mediator. This is also another status. When there is a conflict between the roles that you play in different statuses, that causes role conflict. I said I am a lawyer. I said, I'm a mediator. Supposing a case is there, it comes for mediation. A Mohammedan son has filed a suit for partition during the lifetime of his father for partition. Is it maintainable? No. As a lawyer, I know that. My status, role identification is there. As a lawyer, I know this is one status. My mediator status is also there. What does my mediator status? It has got some rules. The expected behavior of a mediator is that you don't give legal advice. The expected behavior of a lawyer is give advice, legal advice. Now there is a conflict. This is where many of us fail. If we cannot handle this role conflict, many of us will fail. We have to understand what exactly is a role and what is a status. Status or position is occupied, but role is played. It's a verb, it's an action. Status is a position. In status, there are two categories. One is the ascribed status. Another is achieved status. If I am a female, female is a species. It's only for the identity. Female human being, male human being, we say. That's where woman stands at a different footing altogether. We need to understand this in depth. At a later stage, some other day, we can talk about these aspects. So, assuming for a while, woman is also an ascribed status. Assuming for just at an understanding at a superficial level, I'm telling. If I'm a woman mediator, mediator is an achieved status. What is an ascribed status? What is an achieved status? That we have to know. But as a woman also I have a role. As a mediator also I have a role. And as a woman mediator also I will have a role. These are all different statuses. There is a combination also. This also we have to keep in mind. When there is a stress between roles within different statuses, that causes role conflict. There has to be different statuses. For example, women understand it better. I'll give you an example. A husband comes, there is a case for restitution of conjugal rights and a divorce. Both are going on parallelly and both the cases are in front of you. What are his statuses? That man's status, Mr. Deepak. He's a husband, he's a father, he's a brother to his siblings, he's the only son to his widowed mother. All this, and he's also husband to his wife. So all these roles are there, all these statuses are there, and each status has got its own expectation because of the roles that he plays within that status. Then there may be chances of conflict. With this being there, role conflict arises. We being women can step into the shoes of other people very easily, and we can understand how is this man going through as a brother? What is this man going through as a father? What is this man going through as a husband? Not that men cannot understand this. Let me be very candid about my statements here. Now, when I start looking at different roles I have to play, I start shivering. This happens with all of us. For example, today I had 2 mediations, I had 2 cases there. I had to come here, and as a speaker I have to come here, as a lawyer I have to argue, as a mediator I have to handle 2 cases. And a good friend of mine, Mr. Janardhan's daughter's wedding reception is there, I have to go from here. Different statuses. Roles are different. If you identify your status, before worrying about the roles that you have to play, That is the first check that you have to do. Then you have to understand what is more important to me. What is one thing that I would handle now at this moment, and give my 100% only on that one thing at that time, parking everything aside. This is how you can address your role conflict. Women usually get themselves involved into several roles, and they try to excel at every role they have to play. I have to be the best mother, I have to be the best mother-in-law, I have to be the best daughter-in-law. I want to prove myself, everyone has to appreciate me, everyone has to acknowledge me. Role expectations from others is different. Your own expectations are different. When there is a clear dichotomy in these two, some women excel. I am not here to please anybody. I am handling my situation. I can handle this much, this is my priority now, and I will handle this. Then we can overcome this role conflict. So, basic understanding is this: status, multiple statuses. Under each status there are multiple roles, and there is a conflict between one role and another role because you are having multiple statuses also. This is one understanding. Now, there is something called as role strain. What is this role strain? Stress that is caused to you within one particular status is called as role strain. One status, I am a mother. I have to feed my daughter. I have to earn for her. I have to see to it that she becomes a good daughter-in-law. I have to see to it that she begets children. I have to see to it that she works in a bank as a manager very efficiently. All these things, whether they are there or not, I start enlarging the horizon. When we start enlarging the horizon, without knowing our limitations, we start stretching too beyond our capabilities. That's where we fail, because the strain automatically gets in. I'll give you a small story, narrative. Susan had a mother. Susan was a very successful woman. She was an employee of a bank. She was a very well-known manager. And her mother used to forget everything. Where is my key? Where is my phone? Where is my inner garment? Where is my suit? Everything she would search and make a mess at home. It was very difficult for these other people to handle this. Someday she will take the child outside, Susan's daughter outside for walk, and she would come all alone. And she would say, I have never taken your daughter out. This was happening. Then somebody said there is some medical intervention is required. They took her to doctor, and she was diagnosed of dementia, where you slowly start forgetting, and one fine day you start forgetting everything. There is something known as mirror dementia, where you can't recognize yourself. There is somebody here in the mirror, you start telling. There are various conditions. Then Susan was very affectionate to her mother, and Susan was the only daughter to her mother. What do we do? Doctor said, how do we handle this? Nothing, madam. All that you have to do is give some notebooks to your mother. Whatever is important to her, she has to write 10 times. I am putting my key in the veranda. I am keeping my chappals near the kitchen. Whatever it is. Whatever is important to her, she has to write. Okay, mother also understood. Daughter gave her 3-4 books. Next week she asked, I want 10 more books, 10 more books, 15 more books, 20 more books. It went on like that, but this mother's dementia was considered as very aggravating day by day. One fine day, Susan's mother died. Every time she committed some mistake, I don't know where is my tablet. I have already eaten tablet, she would say. Or she would say, I have not at all eaten tablet, whereas she would have consumed 5 tablets at a time. These were all happening. And every time Susan would shout on her mother, Amma, what is this you are doing? Doctor told you to write. What are you doing? I'm getting you so many books. What the hell are you doing? Where are you throwing them? But the mother would only smile at Susan. Mother died. After the funeral, they were cleaning everything. Under the bed, there were some racks. They saw there were more than 300, 400 notebooks. And they went through each book. Each book, in each page, there was only one sentence. Susan is my daughter. Doctor had told the mother, if you do not want to forget anything, write that which you do not want to forget. Mother did not want to forget ever that Susan is her daughter. There was no role strain at all because she knew, she focused. This is all I have to focus upon. But whereas Susan had strains, role strain, she has to take care of mother, but she had overstretched herself. She expected something from others. That's where, in order to overcome this role conflict or role strain, what we can do is, first, we can try to be quiet, where external sound can be avoided from our end, or we can avoid going to places where the external sound of whatever kind it may be disturbs us, then get into calmness, then get into composure, then be stoic. Being stoic is one of the essential characteristics of any mediator, is what I would say, where you know what is under your control and what is not under your control. You know how much of luggage you can bear and how much you cannot bear. That's where we get ourselves equipped with. Most efficient or successful women mediators adopt or have been adopting stoicism as the part of their life. When you adopt stoicism as part of your life, you will know thus far and no further. You will start working within the frame, and you will not get agitated by the behaviors of the persons with whom you are in touch with. The same thing applies to our role as mediators also. We know how much of stress it is. While Susan died means not physically died. She had virtually died of the role strain. Susan's mother had a very peaceful, natural death because she identified her goal. She said, this is all I can do, this is all I want to do, and I will do this and walk out. That's what is meant to be when we talk of the role of women mediators in mediation. In the mediation context, if we want to understand, gender is always considered as most salient characteristic. In any social context, we can identify the gender by and large, isn't it? Whether person is a man or a woman, whatever it is, gender we can identify easily. There is one book, Gender in Negotiation. Laura and Lena Barak, they have written very beautifully this book. I had once suggested when they wanted to get this, books to the library, I had suggested that this book must be there, brought. Gender is also a relevant factor for understanding the bargaining behavior of an individual. Bargaining behavior of an individual, if you want to understand, you must also understand the gender behavior. Heng karulu, we say. Haven't you heard of this? He is a man. Oh, namappanige heng karulu, we say. Oh, namamma bidi. Ambla Meenakshi, in Tamil we say. Means virtually a man, but she is Meenakshi. Ambla Meenakshi. Those who know Tamil will find out this. This is some identification with regard to some behaviors. As far as this negotiation and bargaining is concerned, men and women, research has proven that we have different motivational factors as far as negotiation and bargaining is concerned. There is something known as task-specific motivation. Men are always driven by this task-specific motivation, whereas women are motivated by interaction-specific situations. For example, selling of a car. My husband wants to sell a car. I and my husband go. Task specific. All that my husband is calculating is how much, whether I can agree for this, how much the other person will ask or selling. Vaishali and her husband are there. They want to buy the car. All that Vaishali's husband is thinking is how much we can pay, how much less I can pay, what is the best bargaining I get. But what am I thinking? Where do I go and speak about this? While speaking, oh, Vaishali's husband was a little bit rude. And Vaishali thinks, oh, Sushila's husband is not as rude as Sushila, but he is a puppet in her hand. What are we looking at? This is what is called as interpersonal orientation, IO we say in psychology. In a mediation setup, when we say the role of women mediators in mediation, we have extraordinary skills in setting the atmosphere and setting an agenda. We set the atmosphere first. I don't like the face of Vaishali. I don't even go ahead to sell the car. Maybe she gives me the best price. That's where we know in mediation we have parties sitting there. But who are all handling the remote? There may be women who are focused only as far as these interaction specific motivational factors to arrive at resolution or not. And in a suit filed for partition by sisters, their spouses are there. What are they aiming at? They are looking at task specific motivations. This is how we understand the entire dynamics, and we women, having done all these things, will know it and catch it immediately. And we will set the atmosphere differently for them. Oh, there is some chemistry going on here. There is some chemistry not going on here. We understand that. Setting an atmosphere, setting an agenda, and structuring the environment, these are all basic things that we have to adopt in mediations. This comes easily for women. And there is something known as framing in negotiation. It's a vast subject by itself. 10 to 15 classes are required only for understanding the concept of framing. But when we come to this concept of framing, opportunities for asking is easily created by women. You don't want dosa? What else do you want? Do you want upma? You don't want, shall I bring something from neighbor's house to you? We ask all these things to our child, isn't it? Opportunities for asking. We provide more opportunities for asking. This is one of the elements of framing in negotiation. That's where the role of mediators, that's where I say, as a woman mediator, if we understand the credibility factors of our different statuses also, and import some good elements from there, and inculcate or bring it in here, assimilate it here, then probably we will stand at a better footing is what I personally feel. See, the impact of dispute on men is entirely different. The impact of dispute on women is entirely different. If you compare, we have seen this. We have all handled more than 50 mediations, those who are here. So when we say, if the matter doesn't get settled in mediation, many men take it as a challenge. But many women feel that it's a curse. They may express in words, they may not. But we can see their faces and read, they're disappointed somewhere or the other. The question of women's participation in peacemaking is acknowledged worldwide now. Their role in conflict resolution is more. I've seen in a case where there was a suit for partition with regard to one house between two brothers. One of them had to take it because the house could not be cut like a Mysore Pak and take half and half. Small house, 20 by 30. So one brother said, give me 50 lakhs, you take the house. The other brother said, I will take the house but give only 10 lakhs to you. This was going on and down. The brother who wanted to keep his house was coming with his wife and daughter. They came one day and said, Madam, we are unable to handle our father at home. I am unable to handle my husband at home. This dispute has taken too much and he is in a challenging mode everywhere. And the target has increased. Everything he says, challenge, challenge, challenge. We want to put an end to this. Don't tell anything. Let my father give 10 lakh rupees. I will give 40 lakh rupees, daughter said. Let us close this. Please have an internal meeting between mother and daughter and the uncle. The matter will get settled. Look at this. From where has this come? This is where we see that women go far beyond and take active role in resolving conflicts. But unfortunate situation is, it is for the women mediators to make them understand that you have this role also. Your status has got this role. There is an expected behavior. Can I be preaching? No. But you have to set an atmosphere in such a way that they start understanding this. The gender behavior in mediation can never be ignored. When there are socio-economic factors or extra-legal factors, then gender behaviors will always have to be taken into consideration. Is she thinking this way? Why is she thinking like this? Why is he thinking like this? We need to understand and assimilate. When affected parties are women, the dimension of dispute is better understood by women. As mediators, we can't say that. I'm telling you only as a woman here, not as a woman mediator. Because we can't say affected people are only women, because bias steps in. I don't want to say that. When I'm making this statement, I'm very cautious. When affected people are women, the dimension of dispute is better understood by another woman. As a mediator, understanding is not prohibited, but identifying yourself with the other person is prohibited. Being a woman mediator, your role empowers you to understand that dimension, but you need not identify yourself with that dimension. If you understand the dimension, you can handle the situation in a better way. One of the roles of women mediators is we can handle variety of participants. There is one Beena sitting in front of me, but there are 10 other people sitting within Beena who are working through her. I see one person in front of me, but I know there are 3 or 4 other persons working within her. It is here that we need to be very careful as mediators. I'll just share one last narrative so that we can conclude as to what is the role of women mediators here. I'll share you this narrative. A suit for partition filed by a sister, a daughter, against 2 of her brothers. It's just a narrative, an example. Let us not get into the truth or otherwise of it. Let us understand it as a narrative. Suit filed by daughter against 2 of her brothers and the mother, widowed mother. The house is to be partitioned. This daughter who has filed a case is a very, very rich lady, highly qualified, extraordinarily intelligent, bright, everything. The 2 brothers are from very ordinary background and the mother is aged. She wants the share in the property. Do you want 1/3 share? It's a very small house. During the course of the mediation, after the plenary sessions, in the private caucus, she tells, as a child, I was 8-year-old, I was sent with my father inside the room. My father abused me. I was screaming, I was shouting. My mother was waiting outside with 2 of my brothers. This was constantly being done till I was 14 or 15-year-old. And after 15 years, my neighbor with whom I discussed everything, they took me away, paying some amount to my father, and they educated me, and today I am here. My mother is the culprit here. She wanted her sons to be protected. She said, I had no economic stability at that time. There was a session where the empathy, whether there was an empathetic connection that could be brought in or not, was tried by the mediator. The mother said, I was in a helpless situation. If I had opposed the father, then probably he would have sent all of us should have died. And these 2 children, where will they go? They were very young kids. I had to protect these 2 children also. The daughter says, this house was my father's house. She didn't say father, this was ex-house. He abused me. This whole house should come to me as a compensation. These people are partners of this crime. They are not entitled to anything. I am not asking, if 1/3 share is accepted by them also, I am not going to take. The whole property should come to me. Is she justified or not is one question. That let us not look at this. But see here, this is role strain for the mother. Mother's role, mother is a role. Mother of within status, sorry, mother status. Mother is a mother status. She has 2 sons and 1 daughter. But there are roles within that status. What are the roles? Mother of a daughter, mother of 2 sons. Within a status, there is stress. Do I look at 2 sons? Do I look at my daughter? This is role strain she was unable to handle. Now, as far as this daughter is concerned, she is a daughter, but she feels that her claim is righteous. As an individual, she has a status. Her dignity has to be protected. There is role conflict here. There is role conflict on one side from the daughter. There is role strain from the other side by the mother. These things who will understand better than a woman mediator? That one question brought in an entirely different dynamics to the whole thing. You don't stretch yourself. You don't cross the boundaries. The mediator asked one question. How do you want to see the future of the 2 children? That day, you were a victim. Do you think in the bargain, I am not asking you to agree or disagree, do you think in the bargain the two brothers are getting a different status? She understood. She agreed for a settlement. That was a different thing. That's altogether different. Why I am bringing all these things is, when we understand our role and limitations of the role, we can achieve better. Unfortunately, we put too much burden on ourselves. We start expecting too much from others. We do not know the difference between what we can control and we cannot control, what is in our hand and what is not in our hand. That's where, at times, in the process of taking everybody's burden on our shoulders, we are unable to understand that there are nobody here to handle our burden, to offer their heads and shoulders to us. Ultimately, everyone has to handle his own race. Everyone has to run his own race. Nobody can handle one's race. This understanding is primary, and it is part of understanding the role of a woman mediator. Thank you all.
ನೀವು ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ? ನೀವು ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ? Thank you very much, ma'am, for enlightening all of us on this month's CME topic. I once again wish all the women mediators and staff of KMC a very happy Women's Day. And I would like to say, it is said, first, Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava. So it's the mother who is first treated as the God in our culture. And also they say, if a baby is born in a family, a male baby is born, they just say a baby is born, they will be happy. And if a female baby is born, they say a family is born. That is the compliment given to the woman. So no doubt, women always make this world a better place to live. Thank you all, wish you all the best in the life. May I request Mr. Lakshmi Rao to render vote of thanks.
ಇದು ನನ್ನ ಪಾಲಿಗೆ ಅನಿರೀಕ್ಷಿತವಾಗಿ ಬಂದೊದಗಿದ್ದು. ಸಮಯೋಚಿತವಾಗಿ ಮಹಿಳಾ ದಿನಾಚರಣೆ ಅಂಗವಾಗಿ ಇಂಥದ್ದೊಂದು ವಿಷಯವನ್ನು CME ಮೂಲಕ ಮಂಡನೆಗಿಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು. ವಿ ಆರ್ ಗ್ರೇಟ್ಫುಲ್ ಟು ದಿ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟರ್, ವಿ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಗ್ರೇಟ್ಫುಲ್ ಟು ದಿ ಡೆಪ್ಯೂಟಿ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಫಾರ್ ದಿಸ್ ಆಪರ್ಚುನಿಟಿ. ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಧ್ಯಸ್ಥಿಕೆದಾರರ ಪರವಾಗಿ, ಗುಲ್ಬರ್ಗ ಧಾರವಾಡದಿಂದ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಸಿಪೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಧ್ಯಸ್ಥಿಕೆದಾರರ ಪರವಾಗಿ, ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಮಧ್ಯಸ್ಥಿಕೆ ಕೇಂದ್ರದ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟ್ರಾರ್ ಆಫ್ ಹೈಕೋರ್ಟ್ ಗುಲ್ಬರ್ಗ ಬೆಂಚ್, ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟ್ರಾರ್ ಆಫ್ ಹೈಕೋರ್ಟ್ ಧಾರವಾಡ ಬೆಂಚ್, ಸ್ಟಾಫ್, ಮಧ್ಯಸ್ಥಿಕೆ ಕೇಂದ್ರದ ಸಿಬ್ಬಂದಿ ವರ್ಗಕ್ಕೂ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಧ್ಯಸ್ಥಿಕೆದಾರರಿಗೂ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಪಾಲ್ಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಡೆಲಿಬ್ರೇಟಾಗಿ ಸುಶೀಲಾ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ 2 ಮಾತು ಆಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತಲೇ ಕೊನೆಗೆ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು. Who else is better than to speak about a woman and a role of woman mediator on this occasion? ಮೇಡಮ್, ನೀವೊಂದು ದೈತ್ಯ ಪ್ರತಿಭೆ, ನೀವೊಂದು ರಾಕ್ಷಸಿ ಪ್ರತಿಭೆ. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ರು ಕಡಿಮೆ, ಏನು ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ರು ಕಡಿಮೆ. ತುಂಬ ಸಮಯದಿಂದ ನಾನೊಂದು ಅಂತರ್ಧನಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು, ಇಷ್ಟು CME ನಡೀತದೆ, ಸುಶೀಲಾ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಯಾಕೆ ಮಾತಾಡಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ. ಇವತ್ತು ಉತ್ತರ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿದೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಮಯೋಚಿತವಾಗಿ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟಿಗೆ ಅನುಗುಣವಾಗಿ ಅವರನ್ನು ಆಹ್ವಾನಿಸಿ ಈ ವಿಷಯದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಚರ್ಚೆಗೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ತಮಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ವಿಷಯದ ಮೇಲಿನ ಹಿಡಿತ, ಭಾಷೆಯ ಮೇಲಿನ ಹಿಡಿತ, ಸಂವಹನದ ಮೇಲಿನ ಹಿಡಿತ, ಏರಿಳಿತಗಳ ಹಿಡಿತ, ನೀವು ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರೈಸೇಷನ್ನು, ಡಿಸೆಕ್ಷನ್ನು ನಿಮಗೆ ನೀವೇ ಸಾಟಿ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ. ಒಂಚೂರು ಸ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ, ಬೇಸರ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಡಿ. ಈ ಎಮ್ಮಂಗೆ ಟೈಮ್ ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಇದು ನಾನೊಬ್ಬನೇ ಹೇಳೋ ಮಾತಲ್ಲ, ನನ್ನ ಸಹಪಾಠಿಗಳು ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಜನ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಈ ಎಮ್ಮಂಗೆ ಟೈಮ್ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ. ನೀವು ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಮಧ್ಯಸ್ಥಿಕೆ ಕೇಂದ್ರದ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಆಸ್ತಿ. ಇವತ್ತು ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಮಧ್ಯಸ್ಥಿಕೆ ಕೇಂದ್ರ ದೇಶದ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಲ್ಲ, ಪ್ರಪಂಚದ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಹೆಸರು ಮಾಡಿದೆ ಅಂದರೆ ತಮ್ಮ ಪಾತ್ರನೂ ಕೂಡ ಅತಿ ದೊಡ್ಡದು ಅಂತ ನನ್ನ ಭಾವನೆ. KMC ಪರವಾಗಿ, ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಮಧ್ಯಸ್ಥಿಕೆ ಕೇಂದ್ರದ ಪರವಾಗಿ, ಎಲ್ಲರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಅತ್ಯಂತ ಧನ್ಯತೆಯ ವಂದನಾ ಸಮರ್ಪಣೆ. ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ, ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.
Hello. In continuation of the CME, we would like to continue the Women's Day program for another half an hour. We have prize decision to